Well, have you seen the latest desecration to the makeover to the White House? I'm Jonathan Burton, and our president posted today on his social media network that he was very proud to announce some changes and some improvements in his mind to the Lincoln bathroom, which is part of the Lincoln suite, which includes the Lincoln bedroom and all that, and a lot of history that goes into that. Here, let's take a look at some of these pictures. This is the bathtub and the new gold faucet there, and a little bit of a zoomed out view so you can get the bigger picture. Uh, Now, all the way zoomed out, looks like a beautiful hotel, doesn't it? And the final shot right there. So, this is what he's bragging about that he did to the White House. And I started thinking, I wonder what ChatGPT might make of that. Would it even know what to make of it? So I actually fed these pictures into ChatGPT, and you're never going to believe what it spit out and make out what it's looking at. And I was amazed at the job it did, but it really summed it up in a way that I can't imagine anybody doing a better job on this. But it basically said that this bathroom, with its white marble surfaces, gold fixtures, and ornate framed mirror, is lavish, but it doesn't match the historic character and restraint typical of the Lincoln bedroom suite or most traditional White House decor. And this is very important. And I will talk about that in just a minute, but just so you don't lose sight of this, put it in bold. Okay. So this is so important. When you make any changes to the White House, you want to make sure you're consistent with its historic character. That's very important. That's the White House represents, as do many other things around Washington and around the country, but it almost more than any other represents and embodies the character and the history of our nation better than anything else, probably. Our ideals and our values, at least the values we aspire to have, whether we always show them, but at least these are the values. I think America has some very good values that it aspires to, but it's not always successful in living up to them. But ChatGPT goes on to say, talks about the style and fit. And listen to this, the overall aesthetic here leans more toward European hotel opulence. That's exactly what I thought when I first saw this. I thought it looks like the Ritz in Paris. And ChatGPT even mentioned that. But it says it looks more like that than 19th century American federal style. Now, why is that important? Because the Lincoln bedroom and bath are typically decorated in the Victorian Revival style, dark woods, deep reds, floral carpets, and historical reproductions from the mid 1800s to reflect the era of Abraham Lincoln. That's the point, right? If you're going to honor Lincoln and everything he stood for and all of his accomplishments and everything he did for this country, you want to keep this in the style of his era, in the style of his time. When you bring it out of that and turn it into literally some fancy European hotel room, you've totally changed it. You've lost all that history. You've lost it all that history and all that tradition. This bathroom's bright white marble and polished gold contrast sharply with that darker, somber period aesthetic. And don't we want to remember what a somber time that was, the Civil War and Lincoln's presidency? Or do we want to just paint it over and forget it? Almost as if the president, if he can erase Lincoln and his legacy, could claim to be the best president ever, perhaps. All right, then ChatGPT came up with a category they called historical dignity. Let's look at this. While this room would not be offensive to the dignity of the White House, it would feel out of character if placed directly within the Lincoln Suite, and that's where it is, because the Lincoln Suite honors a president associated with humility and gravitas. You wipe all that out with this decoration. It would be more in line with the private residence bathrooms of the first family, especially those updated during modern administrations where stylistic freedom is greater. And that's right. Respect the White House, respect its historical rooms. If you want to make changes, like drastic changes to the White House that aren't in keeping with its history, do that in your private residence. It's okay there. That's where presidents can make, changes that suit them and their personal taste rather than the history and style of the White House. So have the respect for our nation, have the respect for our history and our traditions to keep your own personal taste out of it when they clash this violently almost with what it should be. It's like a total contradiction. Keep your contradictions in your private residence and no one would care. That's fine. That's your place in the White House. So it's not historically appropriate for the Lincoln bathroom itself. It fits better in a modernized guest suite or the East Wing residential quarters, which no longer exist, not in the historically preserved sections. That's right. This thing really got this stuff right. This marble and gold redesign ordered by Trump reflects his personal taste for luxury hotel aesthetics. Glossy marble, gilded fixtures, and opulent contrast. Totally. Can you imagine Abraham Lincoln, anything opulent, having anything to do with Abraham Lincoln? This is like wipe out his legacy, just wipe it out. So disrespectful to our traditions and to our history. The White House is traditionally aimed. Oh, well, I left out something here. Yeah, rather than any respect for the White House's historical continuity or architectural integrity. That's right. No respect to the historical continuity of the White House. The White House has traditionally aimed to preserve each room's period character. For example, the Lincoln bedroom and its adjoining bath were restored under Truman and later administrations to reflect mid 19th century federal and Victorian design. Right. Keep it in the same style that is common to its period. Updates are usually subtle and historically grounded, coordinated with the White House Curator's Office and the Committee for the Preservation of the White House. Now, here's where I have another problem. MAGA people would say, oh, he doesn't need to check with anybody. He's the president. He can do what he wants. Well, look, this is why presidents have experts around them. The president can't know everything. And can you really tell us that this president, or even any president, knows more about the White House's style and history and traditions than the people who work there for their lifetime career in the White House Curator's Office and the Committee for the Preservation of the White House? These are people who are experts in this area. How can any president know more than they do about this? At least go to them, run your designs by them, say, what do you think of this? They'll say, well, it's really out of keeping with the history. It's out of keeping with what we do at the White House. And the president, who needs to know he's not a permanent resident, he is a temporary resident. He will never have permanent residency in the White House. Somebody needs to tell him that. He's a tenant for a brief time. And he should respect that and say, you know what? It's not all about me. It's about our country. This is the people's house. But this president doesn't do that. It ended up by saying Trump's renovations, by contrast, tended to prioritize spectacle over preservation. Ain't that the truth? Similar to the decor in his hotels and penthouses. So, yes, saying that he did not show respect for the historical aesthetic of the White House would be entirely fair and well supported. Thank you, ChatGPT. You've done a better job at this than a lot of people are doing right now. Now, you think that's bad? I don't know which is worse, that this has happened at all, or that there is a large group of people who just adore this man so much they bow down and worship everything he does, his every move. Here are some comments that were made on his website in response to his post of these beautiful pictures of these White House renovations. This lady says everything reflects. It's hard to read. It's so worshipful, like it's so idolatrous, really, if you ask me. She says everything reflects your excellent taste and love of every detail. Perfection. We can't thank you enough for putting so much love, time, and money into all these renovations. I just can't wait for the ballroom. What a blessing you are to America, sir. We love you. Oh my gosh. Uh, I remember when Obama was president, and conservatives used to say, and I went along with this, that Democrats seem to be worshiping him. And I kind of agreed with that at the time. They were like bowing down. Okay, they weren't bowing down, but I mean, they were cheering so loud every time he spoke. But this goes way above and beyond anything that Democrats did under Obama. I mean, it's just so over the top, especially for Christians to be in on this. Christians, you have one God. It's God, Jesus Christ. It's not Donald Trump. You don't talk this way about any other person. All right, here's another one. Golden age is here with God sent Donald Trump. That's funny, isn't it? He's saying God sent Donald Trump to bring a golden age to America, by which I know most of these people mean great wealth and riches and a nice life, which really is what they're all about. A lot of these people who claim to be Christians and are these seriously hardcore MAGA supporters, th- I mean, I've never seen any of them say, "Yay, now we can go spread the gospel and teach people about Jesus and show people the Bible's the biblical way to salvation through Christ alone." Have not ever heard a single MAGA person who claims to support the president and claims to be a good, serious Christian. I've ever heard any of them say that, ever. But they're all, willing to cheer the great wealth that they think is going to be showered upon everyone. They're cheering. When Donald Trump says, we brought in almost $1 trillion in tariffs from foreign countries, they cheer. That's what gets them excited. No one's, have you heard any of them say, let's use some of those trillions to print Bibles and spread them around the world? No, I've never heard that suggestion. Oh, this one takes the cake, right? Fit for a king. This guy says, Trump, fit for a king. This bathroom is fit for a king. I thought they said he wasn't a king. He wasn't trying to be a king. They don't want him to be a king. They're riled up when the No Kings protests start up. They're so agitated by that. Trump's not a king. Here's what they really think. Fit for a king. Trump, you are our king, and we are proud to have you as our king. That's what this says. Really is. Really is. Oh man, unbelievable. Anyway, we will keep watching everything he does and talk about it and try to put it into perspective and especially into a somewhat biblical framework and a Christian perspective. All right, that's what we do here. I appreciate you watching, and I will see you next time.